are people coming over the border from Mexico. I thought that's a very interesting thing. Then why would Congress want to put so much money into a wall with Mexico if the real risk, the bigger risk, has to do with cybersecurity? And since that time, what have we seen come to pass? All kinds of breaches with cybersecurity. We need to be putting our resources into those kinds of things so that banks, elections, our own privacy are not, those things are not compromised through cybersecurity, where we seem to be putting few resources. Instead, we keep talking about putting it up into some kind of big, magnificent, beautiful solar-powered wall. Yes. Well, I got a note a little while ago that my answers need to be shorter, so I want to respect that.
Marilyn Livingston, would you like to come up for each question?
Yes, Mr. Radcliffe, does it concern you that Russia interfered with our election? And why does Donald Trump continue to deny this fact with so much evidence to the contrary?
The response is from an interview with Fox Business News, May 10th, 2017. We have survived bad presidents before. Republican and Democrats. What the Republic cannot survive is if the people lose faith and trust in agencies like the FBI and the Department of Justice to fairly investigate and prosecute violations of the law. And both sides of the aisle, people have been levying that complaint. Thank you.
One of the other things that Representative Radcliffe shared with me on the plane is his best friend in the House is Trey Gowdy. And one of the things that he was, that's one of the things he was very proud of, was his friendship and how much Mr. Gowdy has guided him in how to go about doing things in House of Representatives. I learned recently that Trey Gowdy is now the head of the House Oversight Committee that had been headed by Representative Nunes, who decided to leave Congress after who knows what kinds of things happened to persuade him to do that. Pardon? Oh, Chaffetz, yes. So, Trey Gowdy has announced that the House Oversight Committee will not be doing anything with the Russian investigation. He doesn't believe that's in their purview. They were glad to investigate Benghazi multiple times. They were glad to investigate emails and servers multiple times with multiple millions of dollars. But Russia is not something they think they have a responsibility to investigate. They're more concerned with the kinds of things that might be happening just within the House of Representatives. That's our representative's best friend.
Debbie West.
Okay, this topic is Social Security. Do you support the President's campaign pledge to protect Social Security? If so, why or why not?
We were unable to find a statement from Mr. Radcliffe related to this question.
Well, I'm going to tell you all this stuff about our conversation on the airplane. One of the things that we talked about was Mr. Radcliffe's disdain for entitlements. He thinks entitlements are bad things. They're way too expensive. We need to be doing away with entitlements. And so I asked him what an entitlement was, and he said a couple of things about that. And then I said to him, you know, I've been paying into Social Security since I was 14 years old. Every paycheck that I've ever made, I've had a deduction for Social Security. That's a defined benefit. I've paid into that with every paycheck, which means that I'm entitled to the benefit when I become eligible. That's what an entitlement is. Oh, you think about it that way, he said. Now, I want to be fair to Representative Radcliffe. I think many people in Congress have the misconception that entitlements only have to do with things like food stamps, or with Medicaid, with assistance programs. Those are not entitlement programs. Entitlement programs, by definition, have to do with the things that you are entitled to because you've paid into them, like Social Security. And those things should not be done away with. Now, I realize my note says shorter answers, but I do want to tell you this. Regarding Social Security, Representative Radcliffe said that should not be a retirement system. It was part of the social safety net, and it should just be that. It shouldn't be a retirement system. And that's when I explained, but I've been paying into that since I was 14. He believes that the Social Security program should not be administered by the government, that it should be a part of the investment that you do through a private entity. It would still be the 15.4%, your half and your employer's half, that you would be paying towards Social Security. But it would be invested, guess where? On Wall Street. Do you know what the president just signed a couple of months ago? A presidential order that said an investment officer is no longer obligated to the client's best interest. An investment officer would no longer have that fiduciary responsibility or obligation to act in your best interest. If they get their hands on Social Security, if our government, what we choose to do together through Social Security, is something that moves to the private sector, and they have no obligation to act in your best interest, take a guess who's going to wind up with the money. Wall Street and big bankers. And it will be at our expense. I don't believe that's something we should stand for. I believe that's something we should stand up to Representative Radcliffe and say, we will not abide that.